Hi everyone, welcome to the Last Life Ever podcast. I'm Jillian Sidoti, and that is my partner in time, not crime. We don't do crimes here. Jeffrey Holst.
What kind of time are we in?
The future. No, the present. Only the present.
That's right.
Jeffrey, tell us what's going on.
I'm actually really excited because rarely do we get an opportunity to have people in studio with us, and today we have one of my really good friends, longtime friends, and banker, Sam Turnipseed. But we didn't invite you here to talk about banking. You're welcome to mention that because it's part of your life. What we invited you here to talk about, Sam, is, and one thing I've always loved about you is, and Jillian doesn't know this, and maybe Sam has forgotten, I don't know, but like, Sam changed my life. Like, completely changed my life.
What?
Because I was working at a transportation company and Sam was doing some loans for us. We were buying semi-trucks. And I was talking to him about how I had some real estate investing and things like that. And he said to me, you know, Jeff, you should think about buying B and C class apartment buildings.
He said that.
And I said, tell me more. And he explained to me what B and C class apartment buildings even meant. I didn't know anything about it, and he told me just a tiny bit about how cap rates work, and it set me down a rabbit hole of studying apartments. And the very first apartment I ever bought, Sam financed. So thank you for that, Sam, because if it wasn't for that, I would definitely be in a completely different spot.
But that can't be the end of the interview.
No. Also, just to be clear, he also introduced me to Brian, and the Old Fashioned Real Estate Show is a product of that. And of course, my relationship with Jillian is a product of the Old Fashioned Real Estate Show. So, in reality, Sam, thank you for introducing me to Jillian. Even though you just met her today. But seriously though, the reason I wanted to have you here is because of your life philosophy, and I want to let you just kind of introduce yourself. Tell people what you think is important about you, but also I want to let Jillian ask you a bunch of questions because I already know a lot about you and she doesn't, so I want to see where we end up. Yeah, Sam is a very close friend.
Well, the thing I do know about Sam, and it's one of my passions as well, is that he is looking to help create generational wealth, help parents figure out how to finance help finance their kids' lives, which I actually, if I can take the floor for a second before I talk to you about how to actually do this. I've had this evolution as a human being, right? When I first had kids, my oldest is 16 right now, I was like, oh no, you're out of the house at 18. Like very similar to what my parents had for me. You're gonna pay for college yourself, you're definitely going to college and all of these things, only to like actually start raising these humans and realizing how tough the world is out there. And you do want to provide something for them. You want them to not worry about where their next meal is going to come from. You want them to climb Maslow's hierarchy of needs because there's just simply no reason for them to not be an artist if they want to be an artist. And they can't exactly be an artist if they're
they could be a starving artist.
They'd be the very definition of a starving artist. And I wonder how much great art and other philanthropy or entertainment we're missing out on because parents couldn't provide that safety net for their kids. So tell us why you believe this, and also how can we do it? How can average Jillian and average Jeff has dogs. I have
a dog, but my dog does not need generational wealth. But you know, one of the pillars of Last Life Ever is creating financial freedom. Another one is giving back to your community. And I believe that everyone should create a legacy.
Yeah.
Part of that is like a financial legacy. Some of it is like emotional, psychological legacies, like leaving an impact in other people's lives and their relationships. But part of it is being able to create a pool of resources that can benefit people that you care about. And if you don't have children, those people can be nieces or nephews, they can be parents, they can be brothers and sisters, but they can also just be like
the
friends, families,
pantry.
and charities and things like that. It can be Sam's children if I want.
Yeah.
Hopefully Sam's children will be taken care of by Sam.
I hope so. And so to kind of go back to what you were talking about, it's not so much that I want them to be taken care of by Sam. I want them to understand the principles that can help them to be taken care of by themselves.
Right.
So it's not just about the wealth or leaving the assets to them.
Yeah.
I really want to get to a point to where my kids, when I pass, which my wife and I have agreed to be married for 80 years, So that'll put us at 102. She can see other people after that, but we're going to be for 80 years, and I'm going to be 102. She's going to be 102. But we that's our deal. But whenever we do pass, I want them to not need anything that I've left them. So it is not just generational wealth; it is principled wealth, because it's the principles really that create it. It's the stuff that we learn, stuff y'all learn, y'all talk about. That has a tendency to perpetuate. Of course, bad decisions have a tendency to perpetuate too, but I want to teach my kids how to create things, be it art or music or the best technical support. I just met Cameron a minute ago. I don't care if that's what Caleb wants to do. If that's his passion, that's fine. He can even create financial stability in that, but it will be from the same principles that you guys employ to create wealth in law or whatever else. It's the principles that I really want to make sure gets passed. Now, I happen to like things that cash flow. I happen to like things that build equity. I happen to like those things. But it is less about the thing as it is about the things, if that makes sense. Like the core.
Right. So let's talk about that for a second. If let's just make the assumption right now, people are saying while they're watching this, okay, I get it. I have to build wealth. I have to be principled in building my wealth so I can pass on not just the wealth, but also the principles that come with that wealth. Where would somebody start?
I will tell you that partnerships are valuable. Now, I know that may seem like a strange place to start, but I look at my balance sheet. By balance sheet, I mean your personal financial statement. Companies have balance sheets. We as individuals have personal financial statements.
Sure.
That's what you pass to your kids. You don't pass your income on to your kids. You pass your personal financial statement on to them. So, but I look at my PFS before partnerships and I look at it after partnerships. And though partnerships are hard, it was worth it. They are hard, but it was worth it. So the reason I bring that up is I want to align myself with people that already are a little bit further down the road. They've accomplished a few more things. I want to add value, so I don't want to be a tag-along. I don't want to be a leech. So I certainly want to find the areas that I can add value, but I want to be the dumbest and the brokest person in the room. I know that sounds crazy, but I have the farthest to grow at that point. So I look for people that are smarter than me, which is a low bar, so it's easy to find.
Yeah.
And I like to find people that are further down the road in an area that I want to accomplish.
Okay.
I don't, there are certain people that we take advice from, people that we don't take advice from. It's not a moral judgment.
Yeah.
It's just I look at fruit on the tree for that particular thing, and then we ask questions about that particular thing.
Right. And then what do you do? Let's start with, where do you find those people? And then follow-up question, how do you avoid, or are you willing to mentor a partner perhaps that is not as smart as you?
Sure, like I said, the bar is low. So we're typically learning along with each, we're making it up as we go, we screw up together.
Yeah.
But the first question you asked was not about mentoring. What was the first question you asked?
The first question I asked is how do you find a
people?
partner, the appropriate partner that's going to help you?
I have found that most people that are successful want to talk about it.
Okay.
Not arrogantly. They just like to share it. I think part of that success, you talked about leaving a legacy, people want that to... I've never met anybody that built something that didn't want it to last longer than them, ever.
Yeah, and the sad truth is, most, even dynasties only last a few generations at the most. Even these giant, the Vanderbilts, the Rockefellers, right? By the third or fourth generation, it's garbage, right?
Yeah.
Like they might still have some residual wealth, but they're not growing anymore. They're not building anything anymore. And what you're talking about, I think, is how do I make sure, not that I have a gazillion dollars, but that I make sure that my children and my children's children know how to do this.
Yes.
They so 4 generations from now, my family tree is different.
I'd kind of like to give it all away because the kids don't need it.
Yeah, that would be the best
But
scenario.
if they need it, that's great. Because honestly, I like money. If you ever tried to live without it, it sucks.
Yeah,
So,
I have. It does.
Yes.
Yeah, and,
it's no fun.
So Sam, you didn't talk about this, but I know from talking to you before that in a former life you were a school teacher.
Yes.
Did you make a lot of money as a school teacher?
No, I was a terrible teacher too, by the way. They paid me for a job poorly done.
Oh my
which
God.
I appreciated.
I'm a school teacher now.
Oh, no kidding. What do you teach?
I teach math,
Okay.
and I'm a volunteer school teacher.
Very well paid volunteer school teacher.
Awesome.
I get paid in hugs.
Me and Olaf both love warm hugs, so I hope you feel the same way.
But I will tell you, it is probably one of the most complicated jobs I've ever done, for sure.
I was 21 years old, and I was teaching 17 and 18-year-olds.
Oh.
I wasn't even finished with college yet. It was a small
my
private
God.
Christian school up in Northern Virginia. I was completely unqualified. I taught history, which I had been alive for longer than them, so I was more qualified than them. But I taught history, I taught Bible, which I'm a fan of, and then I taught PE, which I don't know if you can tell by the camera, that's not my strong suit. I
make you look good, don't worry.
Honestly, we make each other look good. But I also coach soccer, which I never played, and coach baseball, which I played terribly, and basketball.
Why would they let you do this?
It was a very small private Christian school, and if you know anything about them, people aren't beating down the doors to work there, generally speaking.
Because they don't pay well.
No, I mean, my degree was in history, and my last class I didn't tell you that I taught was anatomy and physiology, which I've never taken.
What?
It's a long story.
I would be very upset paying private school tuition if you were my kid's teacher.
They didn't notice. But it was, they were great kids, and honestly, some of these kids are some of my best adult friends now.
Oh my God.
They're 41 and 42. I'm 45. They weren't that much different in age.
Yeah.
Like they are close to having great kids. So anyway, but I did enjoy that part, but it really kind of put something, really helped to define the idea of learning something, even though I didn't learn very much at the time, but learning something and passing that on. There was something about it when somebody gets something. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And so I never got over that.
Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking. Like, because I've heard you talk about that before in different leadership roles that you have and meetings that you've hosted and things like that. And I really do think that's a central point, right? Like you started with, I want to teach people. Mm-hmm. And that's really what you've done. And that's like our pillar one. As you know, we have 5 pillars, right? And the very first pillar is to discover your life's purpose. Mm-hmm. I used to say my life's purpose was to help people find their life's purpose. But now I realize it's actually to help people live the best possible version of their life. Mm-hmm. And also, consequently, I want to do that because every time I help someone, even a little bit, it helps me like 10 times as much. Right? Like I'm selfish about it.
I get it.
Like when I teach someone something, I know it a lot better than before I started teaching.
It really is true.
It's crazy how much you learn by teaching stuff to people because you have to think it through in a different way. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's really interesting about your leadership style because you talk about leadership quite a bit as well.
Well, I have been very blessed to be surrounded by a lot of great leaders in my life. Anything that I've accomplished. Have you ever heard the phrase "a turtle on a fence post"?
No.
All right, so visualize that for a second. So anytime you see a turtle on a fence post, you know he didn't get there by himself.
Okay.
That is how I feel. I feel like the most blessed human being to be around incredible people. Now you asked how to find them. I didn't have an answer to that question yet. Sometimes you just I'll ask them. For somebody who is doing something, I say, hey, how did you do that? I love I don't mind rejection at all. I don't talk to people at gas stations. One of my biggest clients ever in the banking business came from a guy I met at a gas station. And I talk to people all the time because it's fun. I want to read something that I didn't read before to expand my thinking, and I want to meet somebody I didn't know before because the only things that limit me are the size of my thinking and the size of my network. So I want to grow them both every day. So I read something every day and I meet somebody every day. Every day. I don't care if it's a trash man.
See, that's such great advice.
That is so
Meet someone every day and read something every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's your strategy.
That's it.
Because that's a lot simpler than what I've tried to do. I just try to hang out with Sam and hope I learn something from him. So
since we have that same goal, because I hang out with Jeff to hope to learn something, I really don't know what's
You're just going around in circles.
Right.
But no, it's true though. So meeting people does expand your network, of course. But I think I would push back a little bit at that. Yes, every person you meet, you don't know what they're going to bring, but there is a sort of refined art for picking what people you want to spend your time
Sure,
with.
no doubt.
Because not every person you meet is going to be beneficial to you.
So I don't agree with that.
Okay.
Because I'm either going to take something that I can use, identify something I don't want to do, or have a friend.
Yeah, fair.
So there's not everybody writes a book, but everybody's got a story, and I've never heard a story I didn't get something out of. So if I can get a little bit of their story at a gas station or at Home Depot or wherever, or Target, I'm gonna do it. And I know that seems strange, but I've just really enjoyed that. I feel like it refines me for the next conversation too. Like it almost greases the skids for the next conversation. If that makes sense.
Okay. But I mean, something can be said for where you hang out, right? Hang out at the places where the people are that you actually want to meet, right? So
this is why I hang out at banks.
Maybe. Right.
That's actually not a lie. Sam knows this, Jillian, but everyone else in the world of Last Life Ever probably doesn't. But I go to Sam's bank sometimes when I don't need to bank, and I sit on a chair and I just sit there. and I talk to people when they come in and ask them what they're doing.
For real?
And I get to know them, and I know everyone who works there. I know most of the customers at this
Yes.
point, because I love just going to the bank and talking to people.
Oh, wow.
And
Because people that go to, and Sam's Bank is unique because it's more of a commercial business type bank, not as much of retail transactions. So the people that come in there are fascinating people, and they're doing fascinating things.
And that's the kind of culture that not only we wanted to create in our bank. I didn't set out to have the role of the bank that I have.
Right.
We just set out to be a place where entrepreneurs felt like they were not just supported by capital, but they were supported by thought process, good questions, and a partner.
Oh, that's
So
really
like that's
great.
kind of what we wanted to do.
Right,
Because if
right.
our friends build wealth, our friends are our customers.
And another thing that you did that indirectly that benefited me from having that environment at the bank is that the person who introduced me to the publisher of my book is someone I met at the bank, right? Like literally, I'm at the bank one day, and one of the other bankers, not Sam, said, "Hey, I want you to meet my dad." I started talking to him. Turns out his dad's a New York Times bestselling author, and he's, "You should write a book about your life." And I'm like, "I just finished one today."
Did
And
you really? Just
Yeah,
finish it
literally,
that
I had
day?
finished it that day.
Wow.
He goes, "Can you send it to me?" I sent it to him, and he called me 3 days later and said, "I'm going to send this to my publisher." Now I have a publishing contract. And it's all because I hung out at the bank. Like, that banker would not have even known who I was if it wasn't for the fact that I just hung out at the bank.
Wow.
So to that point, I do think you can start by throwing a pretty wide net, but I think you're right. There is a point where you have to be a little more selective, because it is not because you become more important, but because you start to realize a little bit more refined what you want to accomplish.
Right.
So you intentionally align yourselves with folks that can either help you get there or you help them get there. But I say that, I started a group, you're part of that group.
Mm-hmm.
So I started a band, but it's not really a band.
We have a gig coming up on Thursday.
Yeah, we do. I'm tonight. So there's a mutual friend of ours named Randy, who I've done a lot of banking with over the years. And I said, "Hey, Randy, have you met this person?" He said, "No." I said, "Have you met this person?" He goes, "No." And he said, "Man, you need to get some of your people together." So that was just a comment that he made. And I said,
Yeah.
"Well, dang it, I'm going to do that." So I picked 14 people that I knew. At that time, I banked 11 of the 14.
Mm-hmm.
But I cheated because I knew what their personal financial statements looked like. I knew what their cash flow statements looked like. I knew what their acumen was because I knew all these people. And I got them all in a room. All of us showed up at one time.
Mhm.
Which
Yeah,
is
it was
amazing.
great.
There was 15 of us total in that room.
Yeah.
And they were all people that were between 35-ish and 45-ish. And this was the tenant. These were the tenants. 35-ish and 45-ish. They did not need the money, and they wanted to do something that lasts longer than them. That was it. Those were the three things I looked
Yeah,
at.
and let's work together and see what we can do together.
And so
Wow.
we have been meeting now for a little over 2 years. Not
Okay.
exactly monthly. We try to do it monthly. It doesn't always work out. But we developed 5 little things. Number one, we want to dream big and do big. The second thing is we want to have a project that requires all of our collective effort. It's called the Chattanooga Free Enterprise Collective. But we are all entrepreneurs. Some of us, I have a job, but we're all entrepreneurs. And dream big, do big. It has to require a collective effort. It has to uplift the community, and it has to add at least $10 million of net worth to everybody's PFS in the next 10 years, which we now have 8 years to do that.
Okay.
And the reason for that particular number is that that time that was almost $150 million. There was 15 of us. There are now a total of 12. We had
Okay.
3 that we shot. Yeah, we have it's tough to leave that group, man.
Yeah, it's you know,
I'm kidding.
it's well. In fairness, their vocals weren't very good,
That's
so
true.
we had to get them out of
Oh
the
my
band.
God.
We did not shoot them. There were out of the 15 total, there were 3 that were focused on their business at that moment and couldn't take any more time away, which was
Oh, okay.
which
It's
was
fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't want it. I mean,
Right.
in reality, and all of us are spread out, right?
We're all very
we're all busy doing different things. So we might have a meeting and only 8 of the 12 show up, or 7 of the 12 show up, but that's okay because we're still
Yeah.
making that progress and coming up with ideas and working together.
And we'll find something. We will find something for all 12 of us to do. But even if we haven't, I now own a home with one of them down in
Yeah.
Little Shores. There's now 2 of them that have built probably 40 build-to-rent homes.
Okay.
There's wealth that's already been created in that group.
And also,
A tremendous
because of that's the only reason you're on the Last Life Ever podcast.
Oh,
I don't know if you know that or not. Like, I wouldn't even know who you were if it wasn't for that.
I'm sure. But in all seriousness, that whole idea of the adding wealth was because we believe Chattanooga is special, and we feel like $120 million in wealth can really help to drive home those principles over the next 50. We believe in the next 50 to 100 years will be as big as Charlotte or bigger. So if that's the case, how do we want Chattanooga to look? in 50
Yeah,
years.
and just to understand the scale of the projects we're talking about, we're talking about things like building a town on the outskirts of Chattanooga. Like not like we're going to make a small little development or build an apartment building. There's nothing wrong with that stuff, but we want to do something gigantic that no one of us could do on our own.
Mm-hmm.
Public transportation has been a big thing.
Yeah.
A private-public partnership.
But don't you have a Chattanooga choo-choo?
Yeah.
We do, but it's no longer does any public transit at all. But if you'd like to sing the song, you're welcome.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass for right now. But
Sam might sing with you.
I do love to sing.
So that's another thing about Sam is he's an excellent musician. Actually, he regularly plays bass at his church.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, and occasionally even sings.
I do occasionally. I play the guitar, but it's hard to play the bass and sing.
Yeah.
Sting is amazing. I don't know how he does it.
That's actually how I met my husband. I was a bass player in a rock band, and he was the booking agent at a club.
I don't know if you're serious or not.
I'm dead serious.
That's actually true.
I like this so much. I was not sure. But I'm so pumped that's a true story, or that you've so committed to it.
Well, if it's not a true story, it's one she's been telling me for years.
That's why I'm not so committed.
No, but
That's
I will tell you, I did tell my kids.
That you were a former WWE wrestler.
I was a former WWE wrestler, and they were.
J Money, wasn't that what the name was?
I was the $1 Girl. Girl.
Oh, the $1 Girl, yes.
That works.
And I go, yes.
That works.
I told them we were starting to get into wrestling, and they asked me, "Hey, Mom, do you know what professional wrestling is, or do you know what WWE is?" And they were very flippant to me, and I go, of course I know what the WWE is. And they go, oh, okay. And I go, yeah, because I used to be a professional wrestler. And they're like, excuse me, what? And I go, yeah, I was. And they're like, and so then I just was like, wait.
She committed. I think the point of the story is she committed to a lie so thoroughly that her kids believed her for a while.
No. Yeah,
This delights me.
So I told them this whole thing that my finishing move was the counterfeit press, where I would wrap my legs around my opponent and squeeze real tight. And then my entrance song was Money by Pink Floyd. And they're like, wait a minute, where's the YouTube? I'm like, this was way before YouTube. And I was only in there for a while. And then, wait, hold on. This was my cherry on the top. Then I programmed Alexa to, if I said, hey, Alexa, who's the $1 Jillian Girl? She would say, according to Wikipedia, the $1 Jillian Girl is Jillian Sidoti from Winchester, California. And had this whole, and they're like, whoa, what happened?
I am equally excited and disappointed.
Yeah, right. It is like that.
This is so good. You have a talent. I mean, this is high level.
The best, I think that is insane. But she told me this story right when we were about to interview this former WWE wrestler, and he's now a very good friend of ours. His name is Barry, but Barry was Mason Ryan. That was his wrestling name, and he looks like a wrestler. This guy is just gigantic, and I got Barry to tell one of her kids that he was a giant fan of the $1 Jillian Girl.
This throws this whole thing into a crisis of credibility, right?
It really does.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, my kids don't believe in Santa Claus. At
Never.
all.
So the story was too simple.
Yeah, it's too simple. But
add more
anyway,
stuff to it.
I find it very fascinating and creative, but I agree with you. It does cause me to question her credibility. So
I don't know what
for people who are watching, from now on, this is the Last Laugh Ever show with Jeff and Sam. And we're interviewing the $1 Jillian Girl, who isn't a thing we just
I don't
discovered.
know what is.
Yeah.
Anything is a thing that we call a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Before we end, I have a very important question to ask, Sam. I want to kind of bring it back to the beginning, which is we talk about this balance sheet, and one of the most important things is, partnerships. But what do we get onto the balance sheet? What is the most, actual, understanding that partners are assets? What assets should we be looking at first as parents who want to grow generational wealth?
I think that's a good question, and I think everybody's got a little bit different appetite. Now, I'm going to put my banker hat on for just a second.
Sure.
I think everybody's got a little bit different appetite and different feel for what they want to do. I think real estate's a great thing to do. Mm-hmm. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm partial to it. I participate in it. I'm not only a whatever the community bank president, I'm also a client. Like I do this myself. We own a storage facility. We own 2 short-term rentals. I build speculative homes, a fair amount of those. We have right at about 100 that are either in progress right now, or we have lots that we've secured over the next 2.5 years. So that's something I enjoy doing. I started out very simply. I got into a partnership with a builder, a spec builder. I took the loan in my name. He built the house. We split the profits. I took that money and I did another one. I took those 2 monies and I bought a building.
Oh wow!
So and I literally had a banker that took a chance on me.
Yeah.
That I knew, Jimmy Moncrief, that took a chance on me. And he helped me get my first one going, and I just had a risk appetite. I hold every deal very loosely because there's no debtor's prison. I know that sounds like really flippant, but there's no debtor's prison. I'm not going to do anything that'll violate God's laws or man's laws. If we all screw up and the deal fails, that means I missed it, my partner missed it, the bank missed it, and the builder missed it.
Yeah.
So it's not likely we're all going to miss it. We might, but it's not likely we're all going to miss it. So it gives me a pretty high degree of confidence to go in with something simple. But if that simple creates $25,000 or $30,000, that's not nothing.
Right.
So then I can do it again, and I don't want to put it in a savings account. All that's fine. It's no risk, therefore little reward. I am great with losing it all. I don't want to.
Right.
But I'm great with losing it all. I hold the relationships very tightly, but I hold every deal very, very loosely. Because that some are going to work and some are not going to work. But if he and I are on the same page and we have common core principles, we can find something else that will work. So I may not have answered your question, but real estate.
No, I think what I'm hearing is real estate. And I mean, of course, Jeff and I aren't going to disagree with that. But what I'm also hearing, based on what your history is with Jeff, is like little Jeffrey Holst, who's working at the trucking company and just came out of bankruptcy, was able to.
Yeah, he took Sam is the banker that took a chance on me, right?
Right.
Like my first loan of more than $50,000-$60,000 was when I bought a duplex that Sam financed, and then Teakwood, yeah, Teakwood, and we bought it for $68,000, right, and put like $20,000-$30,000 into it. Then we went ahead and refinanced it with Sam, took that money, used it as a down payment on a 12-unit apartment building. Those were the first two. Yeah, those were the very first 2 loans that I ever did with a commercial bank of any kind. I mean, I had like credit cards and stuff, but I didn't have any. Like I had a bunch of private money loans, but I didn't have any actual loans with banks before that. And of course, that once you open up that new world of capital, then you have the ability to finance all kinds of other things. But banks need to see that you've done something before they can do it. And I mean, in fairness, it wasn't a completely wild card chance on me. We knew each other. We knew that what I knew, and I had a lot of other real estate at the time. Like we had been buying. We were doing flips. We would take the money from the flips, much like you were doing with your new builds. We took that money and we would buy pieces of real estate. We had a lot of free and clear real estate. We also had some private money loans on some of our real estate. So it wasn't like it was completely out of the blue, but it was still a chance because it wasn't something I'd ever done before.
Yeah.
And you got to start with risk. It's okay. I mean, risk something.
Yeah.
And some people will never do that, and that's okay. It's not a lesser existence. It's just whatever they want to do. But we got to realize we take risks in whatever we do or what we don't do. You either risk not accomplishing or you risk when you go to accomplish. But it's a risk either way.
Right.
So you just decide the direction of your life. You find people that have done it. You ask questions and you go take risks. It's not complicated.
So I think what I want everybody to take away from this is that even if you've never gotten into real estate before or investing before, there is opportunity out there. There is someone who will take that chance on lending on you, as so long as the opportunity is the correct opportunity and you're the right person. So you have to make yourself the right person. You have to get in front of the right people. You have to talk to the right people. And you have to get the right education.
And also that partnerships help with that, right?
Yeah.
Because the truth is, like, I mean, I don't want to say the bank wouldn't have done it, but like I had a partner on my 12-unit building.
Yeah.
My partner had a stronger balance sheet than me.
Who was it? Your dad?
Yeah, it was my dad.
Yeah.
Right. So like we did that together, and I don't know, like maybe the bank would have lent it to me, maybe, right? We don't know because it wasn't underwritten that way. Maybe they would have lent it to my dad, but really we had different skill sets.
Yeah.
Like I knew a lot more about real estate investing at that
Yeah.
point in time because I'd spent a lot of time working on that, and he had more cash.
Right.
From business investments that he had made.
Yeah.
And so as a result of that, we made a good partnership team. And I've had, everything I've ever done has been with a partner.
Right, right.
And sometimes I'm the partner that's pulling up the ability to finance, and other times I'm partnering with someone who has way more cash than me, and they're helping me get things that I wouldn't otherwise be able to do. But it's also knowledge and being able to repeat that over and over again.
Yeah.
I just do encourage that if you are going to go into a partnership, you need to have some guiding principles. I have 3. They're simple. Number 1 is I want to do an asset that I'm proud of.
Mm-hmm.
I want to do something that when I walk by it or I walk through it, I'm like, proud of this. Number 2, if I have investors, which I do, I want to make sure that when we're at the end of the day, they're very thankful they put money with me. Not just because of the return, but because of the communication, for the quality, for the conversations that we're having. And the third thing is I want to be a really good partner, which means I want that other person to feel like they got the better end of the deal. Every
Nice.
time. I want them to feel, I want to serve them in such a way.
Yeah,
that
I
they
mean,
walk
I think
away.
it gets boiled down to one thing, always act with integrity.
Yeah.
So anyhow, well, everybody, thank you so much this was one of the best, funnest interviews I think we've had in a long time. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. I'm Jillian Sidoti. This has been the Last Life Ever podcast. I'd love to thank our guest, Sam. And Jeff, what do you want to remind everybody of?
To live the best version of their last life ever.